Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a deep and careful look at a story that has been unfolding step by step. A story where one dramatic moment grabbed the headlines, but the bigger picture has been quietly developing behind the scenes for a long time. When people talk about the bridge, they often treat it as a single event, a sudden shock that appeared out of nowhere. In reality, that moment was part of a much wider sequence of planning, pressure and long-term strategy that goes far beyond one structure or one location. To understand why the bridge mattered so much, we need to understand what it symbolized. It was not just concrete and steel, but a powerful link between territory, logistics, morale, and political messaging. Hitting such a symbol sends signals far beyond the physical damage, but focusing only on the bridge can be misleading. It can make it seem like everything started and ended there, when in fact it was more like the opening chapter of a much larger plan that is still unfolding today. Ukraine's approach in this conflict has often surprised observers. Instead of relying on one overwhelming move, the strategy has leaned toward layered pressure, patience, and carefully chosen moments that create effects over time rather than instant collapse. This kind of strategy is not about dramatic explosions alone. It is about forcing the opponent to constantly react, to spend resources defending many points at once, and to feel uncertain about what might come next. After the bridge incident, attention quickly shifted to logistics. Supply routes, transportation hubs, and communication lines became central topics in military analysis, because wars are not sustained by slogans, but by fuel, ammunition, food, and movement. When those systems are stressed, even without being completely destroyed, the strain shows up everywhere else. Delays increase, planning becomes harder, and confidence begins to erode at both the tactical and strategic levels. Ukraine's actions suggested a deep understanding of this reality. Rather than aiming only for territory, the focus appeared to be on shaping the environment in which the opposing forces had to operate. This approach turns the battlefield into a complex puzzle. Every road, depot, and crossing becomes a question mark, forcing constant reassessment and adaptation. At the same time, information played a crucial role. Carefully timed messages, controlled releases of footage, and strategic silence all contributed to shaping perceptions both at home and abroad. Modern conflict is not fought only with weapons. It is fought with narratives, expectations, and the ability to keep allies confident while keeping opponents unsure. International support has also been a key factor in Ukraine's planning. Long-term strategies are built with an understanding of what partners can provide, how quickly systems can be integrated, and how political realities shape military options. This means that every major action is often calibrated not just for immediate effect, but for how it fits into a broader diplomatic and logistical framework. The bridge episode showed how a single operation can serve multiple purposes at once. It affected transport, sent a symbolic message, tested defenses, and gathered valuable information about responses and countermeasures. In many ways, it functioned like a probe. The reactions that followed revealed strengths, weaknesses, and priorities on the other side, all of which could be studied and used later. What followed was not a rush of similar attacks, but a period of observation and adjustment. This patience is often misunderstood as hesitation, but in strategic terms, waiting can be just as powerful as acting. Every delay can force the opponent to stay on high alert, draining resources and attention. Every unanswered question creates stress within command structures. Ukraine's planners appear to be working with time as a weapon. By stretching the conflict in certain areas and compressing it in others, they can influence where pressure builds and where it eases. This does not mean there is a single fixed master plan written in stone. Effective strategies evolve, adapting to new information, changing conditions, and unexpected developments. However, the consistency of certain patterns suggests clear guiding principles: precision over spectacle, impact over noise, and long-term positioning over short-term headlines. Another important aspect is the focus on mobility. By limiting the opponent's ability to move freely and predictably, Ukraine increases the effectiveness of its own operations without necessarily needing numerical superiority. Mobility affects everything from troop rotations to equipment maintenance. When movement becomes risky or slow, the entire system begins to strain. At the same time, defensive preparations have continued. While much attention is paid to offensive actions, building resilient defenses ensures that gains are protected and that counterattacks are absorbed with minimal disruption. This balance between offense and defense is critical. Too much focus on one can leave vulnerabilities in the other, and Ukraine's approach appears designed to avoid that trap. Economic factors also play a role in the broader plan. Infrastructure damage, trade disruptions, and increased security costs all add layers of pressure that extend beyond the battlefield. These effects are gradual, but they accumulate. Over months and years, they can shape political decisions and public attitudes in powerful ways. The bridge was a reminder that no asset is entirely untouchable. Once that perception changes, resources must be diverted to protection, reducing what is available elsewhere. This redistribution of effort is often one of the hidden goals of strategic operations. Forcing an opponent to defend everywhere means they cannot concentrate strength where it matters most. Technology has amplified these dynamics. Drones, satellites, and digital communication allow for rapid assessment and adjustment, making flexible strategies more viable than ever before. Ukraine's ability to integrate new tools quickly has been a notable feature of the conflict. Training, adaptation, and innovation have often happened under intense pressure, yet progress has continued. This adaptability suggests a learning organization, one that analyzes outcomes honestly and adjusts without being trapped by pride or rigid doctrine. The psychological dimension cannot be ignored. Uncertainty wears on decision makers and frontline personnel alike. Not knowing where the next pressure point will appear can be deeply unsettling. By keeping actions unpredictable, Ukraine maintains initiative even when not actively advancing. Initiative is about control of tempo and choice, not constant movement. The bridge in this context was a statement about initiative. It said that choices were not limited and that assumptions could be challenged. As the conflict continues, we see echoes of this philosophy in other areas. Small, precise actions with outsized effects, followed by periods of quiet that invite speculation. This rhythm makes analysis difficult, and that difficulty itself becomes an advantage. When analysts cannot confidently predict next steps, planners gain room to maneuver. It is also important to recognize the human element. Behind every strategy are people making decisions under pressure, balancing risk, responsibility, and limited information. Acknowledging this reminds us that outcomes are never guaranteed. Even the best plans face friction, chance, and the actions of others. Yet the overall direction remains clear. Ukraine is seeking to shape conditions rather than chase quick victories, to weaken systems rather than just seize ground. This approach aligns with the realities of modern, high-intensity conflict, where sustainability often matters more than speed. The bridge will likely remain a reference point in discussions for years to come, not because it was the biggest event, but because it marked a visible shift in how the conflict was understood. It showed that the battlefield was not confined to expected lines, and that strategic imagination could expand those boundaries. As we look ahead, it is reasonable to expect more moves that fit this pattern, actions that seem limited on the surface, but connect to a wider web of objectives. Observers should be cautious about drawing conclusions too quickly. What looks like restraint may be preparation, and what looks like quiet may be planning. In the end, the story is not about one bridge, one strike, or one moment. It is about an evolving strategy designed to operate across military, economic, informational, and psychological domains. Understanding that helps us see the unfolding events with greater clarity. It shifts the focus from isolated incidents to long-term trends and intentions. That perspective does not make the situation simpler, but it does make it more honest. Complex problems rarely have simple explanations. As the master plan continues to unfold, its success will depend on adaptability, support, and the ability to endure as much as to act. The bridge was just the beginning, not because it was the first move, but because it revealed the kind of game being played. And that game is far from over.